Today's concept is alpha decay. Rutherford studied the properties of alpha particles. And where the alpha particles are emitting? They are emitting from thorium and uranium. These thorium and uranium are nothing but radioactive elements. Okay. So, who studied about the properties of alpha particle? First of all, Rutherford. Rutherford studied the properties of alpha particles. And these alpha particles are emitted from radioactive elements like uranium and thorium. Uranium and thorium. In which year? In the year 1899. Okay, today's concept is alpha decay. Who studied the properties of alpha particle? Rutherford. Okay, and he has observed that these alpha particles are emitted from radioactive elements like uranium and thorium in the year 1899. Now, what is the charge of alpha particle? Already we have learned. The charge of alpha particle is positive. The charge of alpha particle is positive. And the experiments of physicists like Rutherford, Rhodes, and Geiger in the year 1900, they have confirmed that these three persons have confirmed that alpha particles are nothing but ionized particles of helium. So these the experiments of Rutherford, Rhodes and Geiger in the year 1900, they have confirmed that alpha particles are nothing but ionization particles of helium or ionized helium atoms. That means particles of ionized helium nuclei. So, the experiments of Rutherford, Rhodes and Geiger in the year 1900. Okay. So, their experiment confirmed that alpha particles are nothing but ionized helium nuclei. That means the particles of ionized helium nuclei. And these alpha particles. So, the experiments of Rutherford, Rhodes and Geiger in the year 1900 proved that alpha particles are nothing but ionized helium nuclei, and these particles are emerged out from the radioactive elements like uranium and thorium with larger velocity. Okay, by disintegrating the nuclei, that means by splitting the nuclei, they will emerge out from the uranium and thorium with larger velocities. Now, the charge and ZE by M was systematically measured and the range of particles in air was established. So, by the experiments, the charge of the alpha particle and ZE by M, charge and mass ratio. ZE represents the charge and mass ratio can be known, charge can be known, and range of the particles can be known by the experiments of these persons. Since the range measurements were appropriate indications of energy of alpha particles, so it was thought that all alpha particles emitted by heavy elements were identical. So, by using these experiments, we are going to find ZE by M and range. Okay, and you know that these alpha particles are generally emitted from heavy nuclei. And it was assumed that alpha transitions were discrete transitions. Okay, here alpha transitions, that means the energy levels, between the energy levels the transitions takes place. So the transitions related to alpha particles are discrete. Discrete transitions. That means the transitions takes place for alpha particles are discrete in nature. And these discrete transitions always takes place from ground state to excited state. Next, the magnetic deflection in cloud chamber and magnetic deflection spectrometers measures the energies of alpha particles. So how can you know the energy of alpha particle? Energy of alpha particle, no? The energy of alpha particle can be measured by two equipments. They are magnetic deflection in cloud chamber, magnetic deflection in cloud chamber. In cloud chamber. And the second one is magnetic deflection spectrometers. By using magnetic spectrometers, we can measure the energy of alpha particles. Magnetic deflection spectrometers. Spectrometers. So by using these instruments, we are going to find the energy of alpha particle. So far we have learned that today's concept is alpha decay. So first Rutherford discovered that alpha particles are emitted from the uranium and thorium. These uranium and thorium are radioactive elements, and he has confirmed that the emission of alpha particles from uranium and thorium in the year 1899. Now after that, in 1900, three physicists, they are Rutherford, Rhodes and Geiger, they have performed the experiments in knowing more detail about the alpha particles, and they have decided that alpha particles are nothing but ionized helium nuclei, and these particles will travel with larger velocity and they are mainly emitted from heavy nuclei, and they are able to find the charge per charge and mass ratio and range of the alpha particles, and they have confirmed that the alpha particles energy levels are discrete in nature, and this energy of alpha particles can be measured by two equipments. They are magnetic deflection in cloud chamber, and the second one is magnetic deflection spectrometers. So by using these two components, the energy of alpha particles can be measured. Next one is the energy of alpha particles can be determined by using these two equipment. Then it was established that alpha particles are monoenergetic in general but possess fine structure. So these alpha particles exhibits fine structure also, and they are monoenergetic in nature. They are monoenergetic in nature. Alpha particles possess fine structure as well as they are monoenergetic in nature. Next point is the majority of alpha decay consists of long range alpha particles. Okay, so in alpha decay, decay is nothing but emission of alpha particles. So the emission of alpha particles mainly consists of long range. That means spontaneously they will decay. Long range alpha particles. Long range alpha particles. So during the emission from higher state to lower state, okay, they will possess long range. That means spontaneously they used to come from the excited state to ground state during the alpha decay. And there are few short range alpha groups as well. Not only long range exhibition, there also be short range particles also emitted from the excited state to ground state. So each of this short range group are however monoenergetic. Okay, the integration energy of alpha particle can be written as EDS. EDIS. Okay, that means disintegration energy of alpha particle is denoted by EDS is equal to E alpha plus ER. So here alpha represents energy of alpha particle and here ER represents the recoil energy of alpha particle. ER represents recoil energy of alpha particle. Energy of alpha particle. So the disintegration energy of alpha decay is given by E alpha plus ER. What is E alpha? Energy of alpha particle, and here ER represents the recoil energy of alpha particle. So this overall equation gives the disintegration energy of alpha particle. The next thing is, so as we have learned that the disintegration energy of alpha particle is denoted by EDIS is equal to E alpha plus ER. Here E alpha is nothing but energy of alpha particle and ER is the recoil energy. Now this E alpha is nothing but kinetic energy of alpha particle. Okay, kinetic. So as I have said that E alpha represents energy of alpha particle. So what type of energy it will possess? Kinetic energy of alpha particle. And ER represents the recoil energy. Recoil energy of alpha particle. Now this can also be written as E disintegration is equal to E alpha of 1 plus M alpha by MR. That means we are writing in terms of mass. So here E disintegration is also denoted by E naught. So E naught is equal to E alpha of 1 plus M alpha by MR. Okay. Now here, if you want here, in terms of if you want to express this mass disintegration, it can be denoted by M disintegration is equal to MR plus M alpha, or M naught is equal to MR plus M alpha. Similar to energy disintegration, we have denoted energy disintegration as E naught. Similarly, mass disintegration is sum of mass of the alpha particle and mass of the recoil energy particle. So here M disintegration is nothing but M naught, and it is sum of MR plus M alpha. So this is about the alpha decay. Next we are going to know about fine structure of alpha spectrum. Next we are going to know about fine structure of alpha spectrum. Next concept is fine structure of alpha spectrum. Fine structure of alpha spectrum. Now coming to fine structure of alpha spectrum, let us see the schematic sketch of alpha structure. So consider the transition takes place from THC. Here THC in the sense bismuth, whose atomic number is 83 and mass number is 212. So the transition is taking place from bismuth to thallium. Okay, the transition is taking place from bismuth to thallium. Here thallium is represented by THC double dash. Okay. So what is the atomic number of thallium? 81. And its mass number is 208. So let us consider the fine structure of alpha spectrum. In that, bismuth is present at the excited state and thallium is present in the ground state. Now let us see how the fine structure looks for alpha spectrum. Now this THC, that means the transition from bismuth, does not always takes place from excited state to ground state directly. Okay, the transition takes place from bismuth to thallium, and bismuth is present in the excited state and thallium is present in the ground state. So the bismuth atoms does not takes place emission from excited to ground state directly. Okay, while coming from excited state to ground state, they will emit gamma rays or gamma radiation. So for that, as I have said that this alpha rays exhibits both long range order as well as short range order in decay process. So let us see the many metastable levels or lower excited levels. This is the higher excited level and these are the lower excited levels for the higher excited state. So let us consider the different excited states where the decay of bismuth takes place. So for to have the fine structure of alpha spectrum, we have to draw this diagram which represents the decay or emission of bismuth to thallium. So in every emission, what type of energy is released? The type of energy released during the emission process is gamma rays. Okay, gamma rays. So from here to here, from here to here, whereas that means the transitions takes place between the different energy levels by emitting the gamma radiation, and from here to here. So in different ways the transition or the emission is taking place. Okay, but here the bismuth does not takes the transition from excited state to ground state directly. Only in certain cases, except certain cases, most of the transitions takes place to the lower excited states. And while the transition again from the lower excited state to ground state takes place in different ways by emitting the gamma radiation. So this figure represents the fine structure of alpha spectrum. And moreover, as I have said that alpha particles possess both short range and long range order. So here these 1, 2, 3 represents the short range, and whereas these two energy levels represents the long range emission of alpha particle. And if you consider alpha rays involved in ground to ground transition, okay, so what will happen? Those alpha particles which are emitted in transition to the excited state, they will have short range in air, whereas the study of fine structure of alpha particles helps in the study of gamma radiation, because in addition to emission of alpha particles, gamma radiation is also we are observing. So the study of alpha particle, the structure of alpha particle can also helps in knowing about more about the gamma radiation also. And it is a helpful tool in nuclear spectroscopy. Some of the long range alpha particles are emitted by THC double dash. That means some of the long range alpha particles are emitted by thallium, and which have alternate channel of decay. And as I have said that this TL exhibits long range decay, and some of the element which exhibits long range decay are helium. Here TL represents long range order and PO represents short range order. Okay, short range order, and possess short lived substance whose lifetime is 10 power minus 7 seconds, along with heavy elements, and possess alpha energy groups. So let us consider group of short range and long range, and the relative abundance and excitation energy, alpha energy and disintegration energy. So first coming to normal alpha decay. Normal alpha decay is denoted by alpha naught. Its relative abundance is 10. Excitation energy, that means in order to excite from here to here, so what is the excitation energy? Is 0. So alpha energy is 8.776 MeV, and disintegration energy is 8.946. okay, this is EDS, disintegration. This is EA, this is the excitation energy, and this is abundance, relative abundance. And this parameter is group of which group the alpha particle is going to emit the energy, either the normal, low or high. That means long range, short range or normal range orders. Next coming to long range. Long range alpha particles is denoted by alpha 1. Okay, relative abundance is 35. Excitation energy is 0.725 MeV. Then coming to alpha energy. That means alpha energy for long range emission. What will be the energy? It is about 9.489 MeV. Okay, and its disintegration energy is 9.671. Next coming to another type of long range. It's about 170. 3 types of long range orders are there: alpha 1 and alpha 2. Okay, so here next coming to next type, whose relative abundance is 20 and excitation energy is 1.671 MeV, and alpha energy is 10.417 MeV and its disintegration energy is 10.617. And similarly for long range alpha 2, then its abundance is 170, its excitation energy is 1.793 MeV, its alpha energy is 10.536 MeV and disintegration energy is 10.739. So this table represents the energies of polonium, that is PO, which represents short-lived, and it is a short-lived substance. So this is about the fine structure of alpha spectrum. Now, as so far we have learned that PO represents the short range. Then coming to long range alpha particles. However, these long range alpha particles are produced due to the transition from excited state of the parent element to the ground state element. Okay, here what is the parent element here? Bismuth, which is present in the excited state. What is the daughter element? Thallium. So the long range in long range alpha particles, the transitions always takes place from excited state to ground state, or from parent state to daughter state. So here parent element is nothing but bismuth and daughter element is nothing but thallium. So this is about the fine structure of alpha spectrum. Next we are going to know about beta decay. Next concept is beta decay. So you all know that the portion of radiation emitted by radioactive source. Okay, assume this is the radioactive source. So this radioactive source emits some radiation. That radiation will be deflected by other material when it falls on the when it falls on it. So for example, assume this is the deflector or some other material. Assume this is the radioactive element. This radioactive element gives radiation. When this radiation, that means emitted radiation, falls on the other material, it gets deflected. It gets deflected. Now, this deflection is perpendicular to magnetic field. Then we call it as beta radiation. So, if the deflection is perpendicular, then we call it as beta radiation. Now there are three modes of beta radioactivity. Okay, three types of beta radioactivity elements are present. They are negatron emission. The first one is, that means beta radioactivity takes place in three ways. Beta radioactivity takes place in three ways. The first one is negatron emission. The first one is negatron emission. This negatron emission is denoted by beta minus. Next one is orbital electron capture. Next one is orbital electron capture. Electron capture. And the next one is positron emission. Next one is positron emission. This positron emission is denoted by beta plus. So the radioactivity takes place in three ways. Okay, one is negatron emission, another one is orbital electron capture, and third one is positron emission. Okay, so negatron emission is denoted by beta minus and positron emission is denoted by beta plus. Now this negatron emission is much more common than other two decay processes when compared to orbital electron capture and positron emission. This negatron emission is common. Beta radioactivity, this is very common when compared to other two beta radioactivity processes. Now beta rays are easily distinguished from alpha particles by their considerable greater range in matter. So when compared to alpha particle, beta particle penetration power is more. Okay, when compared to alpha beta, gamma penetration power is more. So it's very easy to identify beta particle, okay, when compared with alpha, because depending upon the penetration power we can identify whether it is alpha particle or beta particle. Now when radioactive element, assume the radioactive element emits, okay, negatron, that is negatron element beta minus element, beta minus element or negatron. If you assume that negatron emission takes place from a radioactive element, then the product has same mass number as the parent, but its atomic number is greater than 1 unit. So here we are talking about the parent and parent element and daughter element. So the parent element always present at the excited state, whereas the daughter element always found in the ground state. Now if you assume from the radioactive element beta minus elements are emitted, then the product, that means the formed product, has the same mass number as the parent, but atomic number is greater than by 1 unit. Similarly, when positron is emitted, the mass number is still unchanged, but atomic number of the product is less than 1 unit. Now when the ratio of neutron to proton is low, another type of decay known as orbital electron capture will take place. So these are the three different types of beta decay process. So when does this happen? Negatron emission will take place. The negatron emission takes place when the product has same mass number, okay, same mass number as parent glass, as parent nuclei, okay, and different atomic number. So when does this takes place? Positron emission, opposite of this, okay, different mass number and same atomic number. Now when does orbital electron capture will takes place? This electron orbital takes place when neutron and proton ratio is low, okay, when the neutron to proton ratio is low, then orbital electron capture will takes place. So three types of beta radioactivities are negatron, orbital electron capture and positron emission. So let us see the examples of first let us know the example of negatron decay. So in negatron decay, 0 and 1. Okay, assume this is the parent which is present in the excited state. Then it is going to give the products, that is 1p1 plus minus 1 E0. This is the example of negatron emission. See here. Here it was reduced by, here atomic number is reduced by minus 1 in the negatron emission. Next, coming to positron emission. In positron emission, you consider the example 1p1, 0 and 1 plus 1 electron 0. So here what is, you have to measure, the main thing you should remember is 1 unit is reduced during negatron emission and 1 unit is added for the atomic number. Okay, so here what is the atomic number for the product? 1. Okay, so here minus 1 is reduced. Here what is the atomic number for the product? 0. So plus 1 is added. Okay, so for positron 1 unit is added, whereas negatron, okay, 1 unit is reduced. So this is about the negatron and positron radioactivity process. Then coming to orbital electron capture. Orbital electron capture is nothing but sum of the neutron and proton ratio. Your neutron is nothing but this, okay, and proton ratio gives the orbital electron capture, that is 1p1 plus minus 1 E0 gives rise to 0 and 1. So this is the example of orbital electron capture. So this is overall about the beta decay. Thank you.